Hello! We are going to add our HB, 2B, and 4B pencil today. But before we get started on that, I want to get back to our exercises. So I'm going to move the camera to the easel so you can see a copy of exercise level 2 and exercises level 3. Here we go. Okay, this is level 2, and I will post a picture of this at the bottom of the video. What you see in the box, you'll want to replicate underneath the box. Same with this row. And when you get to this row, you will be doing symmetry, the opposite. If it gets too overwhelming for a small child, just stop where they are and leave it be. It will be a challenge for an older child. So after you finish level 2 on another day, maybe when they're working on their drawing again, you can introduce level 3 exercises. I will also post a picture of this so that you can replicate it. There's a design in the box. Again, you replicate that design. When you get here, you're going to do it above and below. It's just extra practice. And then at the bottom is very small, but you can do symmetry there. I'm going to move those out of the way so we can add our HB pencil today. Again, we're going to look at our buck. You're going to look at your animal that you're doing, and you'll want to point out the darker areas. You've already filled in 4H, 2H. There is something I wanted to add here. I'm not going to put all the trees in behind the buck, but what I can do to make these antlers stand out is to put a dark color of dark graphite behind the antlers to make them stand out with a lighter color. In order to do that, I go from the edge of the antler, and theoretically you would do this with the 4H pencil first and then the 2H, and then I would make my gradation patch outward from the antler, so that what is going to stand out would be the antler itself, not the background. I'm going to do some tapered strokes here to surround the antlers with the graphite. Gradually make it disappear, the inside. Also come from this edge of the antler outward towards the inside or the background. And you can darken that too when we come back with the darker pencils. That's going to make your light antlers stand out against your background. Now in theory, you could do this just a little bit or you could do it a lot, whatever looks best on your animal. Maybe you have a very light part of your animal that you want to make stand out. So you would go from the background, make that darker so that you can make the light part of your animal stand out. See how I'm pressing a little bit harder here to make more emphasis in the back. You don't have to go all the way up. You could go just partially up, enough to make those antlers stand out and make them look real and lighter. Okay, so you get the idea here. We can also, I would probably do this on my own. I would continue with this dark color behind the antlers, just where it is light, to make to make that stand out even better. I see right here that it's kind of blending in together, and you definitely want a contrast is what I'm looking for. A contrast of, not color, but a contrast of value. Okay, so you see how that works. Now, with the HB, we're going to look over here, and we're going to look at those real dark spots. I see it in the nose, the mouth, underneath the antlers, right on here, some of this. So I'm going to take, and on top of the ear, I'm going to work the HB pencil over the two pencils I already have in those areas. And you're going to see it bring out that value even more. See how much darker that is? When you layer the pencils, you're going to get a much richer value than if you just use the pencil, the level of pencil itself. If you layer the pencils, you're going to get a so much better value. Now I see a very light spot there, so I'm going to go over the light spot. Go ahead and go to the mouth. Always working from the edge, inward or outward, so that that edge is not one line, but many. Becomes very dark right there, so you want to emphasize those dark spots with more value with the darker pencil. Let's go to the eye. It's obviously dark, and you want to bring that out. There's a darkness there around the eye that you want to bring out. The darkness around the you want to follow the curved line outward for more value. And just around the edge of the fur there, it's extra shadowy, I think, extra dark. So I'm going to add that. And around these antlers, it's pretty dark. That ear in the back isn't quite that dark, but maybe like a little bit of value. Now you're not going to put the HB pencil everywhere. You're just going to try to find the darkest spots that need it. Now I see some jagged line here that I want to bring out with the darker pencil. Now, of course, this is part where I can fill in my background with more value. And this kind of curves down here with extra shadow. And then it curves around. And this very, very dark right here. And I notice a kind of a line there, probably an edge of part of an antler. So I'm going to bring that out. I don't color it in as dark as around it. Okay. I also see a very dark line back here with your tapered stroke. Okay. I'm going a little bit fast. I want you to take your time And just pause the video whenever you need to so that you get everything, all those dark spots in that you need to get in. Just remember to leave a variation. You don't want it all solid. You want some variation there so you can see all those different values. And so I brought that out. Well, let's go to these spots down here. Underneath his chest. It's kind of hard to get to it where you can see it, but I'll bring it out from the edge of his chest upward, and then I'll do a gradation patch and just gradually make that disappear. Okay. Now let's go over here to these patches on his skin, deer skin, hide, whatever you want to call it, buckskin. We're going to fill those dark places in and just kind of fade them into the area around those dark places. They gradually go out. And you put them up and down, but there's also, wherever you see horizontal lines, these would be vertical lines, wherever you see horizontal lines, you can place those in there as well. That's the tricky thing about animal fur, is it's not always consistent. It's not always the same. It's just the way we find nature. So many different things in nature. Such a variety God has made that we want to bring out what lovely creatures God has created. Okay, now I'm going to add that. Just going to let this fade out. I'm going to put the emphasis on the back. Now, since we started this background here, we could do the same with this edge. The edge of the deer, and go outward, upward with a patch, and then gradually fade away just around the outline that we already have. It gives the appearance of the dark woods behind without putting a lot of detail in. And then it allows you to see shine where shine is. Okay. Gonna put in some dark spots there around his ear, and the top of his hide, top of his back. See that? Now we can go back, fill that in. I'm going to bring this out to where it's not going to clash. Remember, try not to see lines, but keep that tapered stroke going. So that it gradually fades away. I'm just going to stop that background right here because it's going to take extra time. Probably do some on my own outside of the video to pick up on that. So the next pencil I told you we would add would be the 2B. 2B is next in line. You want to make sure that it's the darker one. You're going to go over your darkest spots again. Of course, the eye and the nose are the very darkest. And you're only going to use 2B and 4B where you definitely see a lot of dark. You're not going to cover the whole deer. Bring that up a little bit. You're going to go over the darkest spots again, and the layering is going to make it richer. Okay, then remember, this is the 2B pencil. This is almost the darkest pencil. You want to save the 4B for the very, very end, where there's just nothing else you can do but add the darkest pencil. So this is, I'm getting some lines, so I want to go over that until I get the feeling that it's not line, but value. Okay, this right here goes into his nose just a little bit. Not as dark down here, but somewhat, with the tapered stroke. Over here, I see some of his fur being darker. Here, kind of comes into a curved line, the bottom of his face there. There we go. Add that curved line outward towards the middle. Okay, now I'm going to go over the nose and the eyes again. You think, well, haven't you got it dark enough yet? I'm just going to do some fine tuning here, make sure it's even darker, because I want to make sure that the darkest parts come out. Now look at that nose. It's quite a curve right there that I didn't notice before. When you go over something more than once, you're going to notice things you didn't notice before. And that's a benefit to your drawing. Okay. And let's look at that ear. There's some real dark spots where that hair comes out. Now, if you look close up to that ear, I don't know if you can see this, you see a dark value here, you see a lighter value, a little bit darker than that, and even a little bit darker. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 values just in that ear. And that's the detail that you're looking for by the time you get to the 2B pencil. You want to bring out the different values with your pencil. Now, let's add a little bit to the chest there. I see kind of a curve there that I missed before. Going from a side position might not be the greatest idea, but I wanted you to be able to see what you're doing here. A little bit of a darker spot here, and it curves around to the shadows underneath his neck. And then along this line, you don't want to see a line. You just want to see that shadow. So I'm adding more to the outline there to make it look like shadow instead of line. Now, we don't want to prolong this. You can always spend more time with the 2B pencil. Make sure that's how you want it. Now we're going to add our very last pencil, which is 4B pencil. You can pause the video and work on the 2B pencil on your own pet. Now, pause it, come back to the video, and we'll add our last pencil, which is the 4B. So adding the 4B pencil, we want to bring out the parts, any part, that we might have missed before. I see some darkness here that I had not seen before, kind of a seam in the antlers. don't want to cover up anything that's light that I want to bring out in the lighter color or the lighter value. I want to add anything dark that I haven't seen before. Maybe a little bit extra here. Here. I'm going to put that in. Really dark right above that eye. Of course, the darkest place, the bottom of the eye, where the shadow of the eye is. The eyeball is in a curve at the bottom. I'm going to add that emphasis to his eye that I haven't before. I'm not covering up the whole eye, I'm just adding the darkest part of the eye. Now I'm going to go to the nose, and I'm going to add the darkest part of that nose. There's a round place in there that I just have one edge on, and I'm going to fill in the darkest place of that nose with my value. I'm going to bring down that dark lip. There's a little bit of light there, and I'm going to go up, leave a little bit where the light is. I'm going to darken in that darkest spot on the lip. I'm going to put in that shadow of the lip there that I had not seen before. Really, drawing is a lot about seeing. You're going to see things you've never seen before. You're going to see detail that you've never seen. But you start with simple. You start with that outline. Then you go, and in your outline, you're going to recognize the elements of shape. Underneath the ear here, I see some fur that's shadowed. And then after you see the elements of shape, you're going to start seeing shapes, circles and triangles and rectangles, things you might not have noticed before. Then finally, you're going to determine the value of those different shapes, and you're going to be able to come up with some reality. This is very light here, but I'm using my darkest pencil. Now I could go back, but I could also just keep a light touch on something that I see that's extra dark. There's a curve in here of an antler. I just want to make sure I get that right above the ear. I think it's this one. There's two, okay. Yeah. And it comes down where I did not see that it came down before. And you're probably going to see more than I do. If you're noticing the lines, how they fit together, that's okay. On your animal, you want to pay attention to what you're doing and make sure that you see all the different parts, all the different lines that go together, and then the shapes, and then the value inside the shapes. There's some antlers back here that are kind of faded. When I go over them, when I go over the background, when I go over the background, then the lighter of the antlers is going to come out. Fill in that dark spot in the ear, on top of the ear here. Okay. Okay, and I'm just going to step back look at it, see what I've missed, see any spots that I need to lighten up or make darker. I see that on his eye here, I could lighten this up a little bit. I brought down the darkest spot a little bit, the darkest part a little bit too long there. Okay. Now anytime I see lines that aren't looking like fur, I can dab them too. Make sure that there's no graphite that stands out. It's too dark. Okay, I see that some darkness above that white part. I'm going to add a little bit of my 2B pencil, or my 4B pencil to that, but I'm going to keep a light touch because I don't want it extra dark. I just want it dark enough to bring out the contrast between the white fur and the dark fur. Okay, there we go. See some lines going horizontally, so well, I'm going to put in some slanted strokes to counteract that. Okay, that one goes pretty good. Okay. Of course, nobody's going to see your reference either. You've got the artistic license that you can change things if you want to, as long as it'll work. Okay. Now, if you're doing a background around your animal, start with your 4H pencil first, then add the 2H, HB, 2B, and 4B until you get a background that you're happy with. If you add your darker pencils too soon, like I just did, you're going to get extra lines, and it's not going to be that layered look like you want. So then you're going to end up dabbing a whole lot just like that. I tried to take a shortcut so I could get the background going. But I think that will finish up our buck and hopefully your animal. We've been through all the 5 pencils. We've talked about value. We've gone over the exercises. You can do those exercises as many times as you like. It will increase your ability to see detail. And if you finish your animal, why don't you take a picture of it and send it to me? I would love to see the results of what you've learned. Thank you.